What's going on, guys? Today we're gonna be doing something similar but kind of different to my last video. So this is gonna be a concept in basically describing how we can improve the loot acquisition in Wizard101. And believe it or not, yes, loot acquisition is a problem in this game. Mainly because for most items, there's no start and finish to them. And when I say start and finish, you can look at things like anything that you craft with. You see the recipe, you see what you need. So that's kind of the finish. And also the start, because you see what you need, and then the finish is how many of those you need. If you get what I mean. You know what you're going into when you're going after that recipe. Of course, there's those recipes that have rare items that you have to rely on some crazy RNG to get, but that's a different story. A good start and finish kind of thing that's in the game right now, which was a really good step in the right direction. Maybe it was a bit extreme for the amount of time it takes, but the crafting for Dragoon gear, that was a good start because it gave people an incentive to get the gear because they knew what they were going after. And it's not like the reagents for them were always like random drops either. There was a set amount of reagents that you could do. Let's say if you farmed the abandoned house dungeon, you'd always get the same amount of reagents, and of course double that if it was double reagents, minus the quest rewards, of course. But yeah, loot acquisition. This is gonna be. I think this is gonna apply mainly towards future expansions. I don't see a reason for them to implement this for stuff that's currently in the game. But anyways, if we let's talk about badges first when we're talking about loot acquisition. Badges right now, whether you like to think of it or not, they don't serve much purpose. There's not really like much point of going after each badge. They don't give you anything. And of course, you know, there's those badges for bosses. Like, I think Medulla has a badge that's like 1,000, like defeat Medulla 1,000 times, or maybe that's Titan's Trident, or maybe both. Probably both. But let's say there was gear rewards tied to those badges. Let's say in the next expansion or a future expansion of some kind, we can take Caramel, for example, since that will be the next world. You can take Caramel. Let's say the final boss there drops hat, robe, boots, and wand. It's like a new gear set and all that. Let's just assume that. What if on your first completion of that final boss, when you first beat it, you're guaranteed one of those pieces? So let's say one completion, you get the hat. And then if you defeat it 5 times, you get the robe. And then let's say there's another badge for 10 times, and that's when you get the wand. And then there's the badge for 20 completions, and then you get the boots. And of course the badge for 20 would probably be the piece of gear that is the most impactful. So there's that. We could always do that. And I think that would be a really cool way to have kind of a new system for getting gear and all that. Now, the question remains, well, what happens if you want more than one of those pieces? Because you can't get the badge twice on one character. And of course these drops, in my opinion, should be locked to your school that you're doing it on. So Death Wizards will always get Death gear drops, and not other school gear drops. But yeah, so what about getting more than one piece, or more than one of the same piece? How would that work? Well, what could happen is once you get all pieces associated to those badges, then you can go back into random drops. That way, you'll create a clear start and finish to when people farm those bosses, or that boss, since we're just talking about one boss that has a potential of dropping hat, robe, boots, and wand. But you know what I mean. And if they need another one, maybe for another stitch or anything, then they could have it be so that it's just random drops for all the gear once you obtain them. Once you obtain those pieces, they can randomly drop. So basically, this system would be like, once you get these badges, you get that piece of gear that's associated to that badge. And then once you have those badges, it's going to go back to the old system, how we currently farm for stuff. And then it's going to be random drops from there. And I think that would be a great change. You'll allow players to know what they're farming for, to know how many runs that they need. And the good thing about this, since King Zhao has put an interest into making 5th Age PvP as good as possible, the way to properly have that like start off for 5th Age is to make it so that people have the gear to PvP with. If new gear is coming out and you're going to put out a new age and you want people to be more attracted to PvP, because that's essentially what they're going to try to do with 5th Age, to attract more people to PvP and fix it up, then you're going to want people to be able to get the gear. Now, 20 runs, it's still a lot, but you could raise it to 30 if you want. Honestly, it's just a concept with the badges, but I think associating the gear drops with those badges would be great. Of course, I wouldn't associate it with 1,000 runs. That's a bit too much. I think those badges are only for the people that are insane enough to do them. I wouldn't even associate it with 100 runs because that's still too much. I think 20 runs is a good sweet spot. If you want, you can bump it up to 30, but I wouldn't push that like right there. I wouldn't push that threshold at all. I think 20 is a good sweet spot. And of course, how would that work? I'd say in order to get the reward from the badge, you would need to equip it, and then that's how it drops. That way you avoid issues with like players with full backpacks immediately getting it dropped and then it disappears into their bank, or maybe some other crazy stuff happens to it and it glitches out the game. And we already actually have this kind of mechanic with the badges in the game. For example, there's a Beast Moon badge. Let's see, I forget the name of it. Oh wait, I'm sorry to remember. I think it's Beast Moon Warrior. And pretty sure it's for playing 25 Beast Moon matches. I'm not entirely sure on that, I could be forgetting. But that gives you, once you complete that, once you get that badge, you get a bonus Beast Moon Planner, which helps a lot for getting the reagents needed to craft the Beast Moon gear. And that was really cool to have. That was really cool. And it was a nice addition, and we should definitely expand on that. And just another note, these bosses that the badges would be associated to, they should be difficult. They shouldn't be a walk in the park. They should take skill to actually like complete, or as much skill as Wizard101 allows it to complete. Should involve communication. Should involve all of that. Now, what else about badges? Well, of course, there's that whole badge list with the different worlds. There's badges for Wizard City, there's badges for Crocotopia, there's badges for Marleybone, and so on and so forth. What can you do with those? Well, here's an idea. What if you complete every badge associated to an expansion or a world? I say expansion because usually worlds are associated with expansions, but expansion or world. And this would not include the Skeleton Key badge section, PvP, or Pet Derby for now, or any of those, just the world/expansions. What if you complete all those badges in that specific section, you get like a special rare housing item that's only can be acquired from doing those badges, from completing all that. It'll give players incentive to actually go out of their way to complete those badges, to have a cool trophy for saying, yeah, you completed all of this. And I think that would be a really cool idea. And once again, I think it should be that you have to equip the badge in order to get that reward. But for the, in the case for the world badge completions and all that, I guess there would have to be a new badge if we were to use that system. A badge that would kind of tell everybody that you completed every badge in that world. I think that would be really cool.